What's up?
Hi there.
Tyler, Keith. End of the year festivities rolling on.
Woohoo. All right.
Getting into the music portion of our end of the year videos. I mean, at this point, movies, video games, TV, all that stuff's up. Go watch it, listen to it, whatever. We're going to do what we do every year, so we're going to have our honorable mentions, albums that we really enjoy but didn't make the cut for our actual album of the year list, and then music albums.
Yeah.
Music albums, that's weird. Albums that disappointed us at the same time.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with disappointments? Just get them out of the way.
Just get them out of the way? Yeah. Okay.
What do you got?
I really only have two. And it's kind of the two big ones. And that's, I have Machine Head with Catharsis. That's one of the worst albums I've heard in a long time, if not ever. So that one's, I mean, there's one good song and maybe two or three passable songs on that album. Otherwise, it's just, it's hot garbage is the rest of that album. So, and then I assume you have that one, so you want to talk about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's by far the biggest disappointment of the year, because Machine Head has put out a lot of quality albums. I'd say the past 4 or 5 albums have been pretty damn good. And I know they were trying to do different things with this one, but still, it just did not pan out at all. I mean, it's a hot trash album.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sucks. I think the other hot trash album we both share is Bull of My Valentine.
Yeah, that's
with
basically
Gravity.
That's basically the only two disappointments I have. God, I feel like that one hurts a little bit more than Machine Head. In some ways, just because I had hopes for Bullet, because their last album was really good, and then this one's arguably worse than Temper Temper. It's not as memorable.
Potentially.
Temper is at least memorable in how bad it is. This one, Gravity's just forgettable.
It's just boring as fuck to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
The only song I can listen to on there is Over It.
Yeah.
That's really it. And even then, that song's fine. But then, I'm if they want to go a more mainstream radio rock direction, then fine. At least make it interesting to listen to, because there's bands out there that do those things.
Yeah.
Well, they don't. With this album, they don't do the metal side well, and they don't do the rock side well. So where the fuck are they with this one? No clue. I just don't understand how they wrote this album and went, this album is going to go, our fan base is going to enjoy it. We enjoy it because it's something different, and it's going to grow us as a band. Because I don't really think it checks any of those boxes. That's how I think about it. But the other ones I have aren't really bad albums. Just albums that just did not stick with me. So Red Sun Rising, their new album Thread, it's just boring. And over time I just did not enjoy it at all. And their first album had a lot of really great hits on it. Then even some of the other songs on it were fine, and this one's just overall kind of boring, and you don't see them on the radio too much anymore.
Yeah.
With these new songs.
Yeah, you don't really hear the new songs anymore.
Camelot with the Shadow Theory. It's just, I almost forget that it came out.
I forgot that album came out.
And it compared to their last album and a lot of other Camelot albums, there's just not really a ton of great bangers on it to stick with you over time. I mean, it's not an awful album. It's just not exciting compared to the other ones. Cataclysm with Meditations. I've loved the past 3 or 4 Cataclysm albums a lot, and this one, once again, I just think it was really boring. A lot of the songs are just no meat on the bone. The production's weird. Not really into it. And to me, and this one, I see these albums on end of the year list all over the place, and that's totally fine. So I'm a little bit in the outlier on this. But Between the Buried and Me with Automata, they're not awful albums, and they have grown on me a little bit more over time, but I just cannot get into them the way that I can listen to some of their other records. And I think it's mostly the first one. Automata 2 is really solid, and Voice of Trespass is really good. The Proverbial Bellow, I think, opens it up, which is really fun to listen to. off the first album, it's just, I Condemned to the Gallows is a fucking awesome song, but then the rest of it just does not stick with me. I cannot get into it, and I've listened to that album so many times of like, maybe this time will be the chance. Even coming around the album of the year, I see all every fucking list has these albums on. I'm like, I'll give it a chance again. I just can't do it. It's just me. And then the last one I have, which I also have on another list, is Ghost with Prequel. In a way, like, I like this album. I do. But in a way, it disappoints me at the same time because their last album was so good.
I can see that.
You
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So I just... And there's tracks on here that I think are, just as good as songs on, Meliora. But then some of the other ones just don't hit me as much. But then again, like, I enjoy it at the same time.
Yeah.
I just wish it was a little bit better than I wanted to. That's my disappointments. So why don't we move into honorable mentions? For me, I was going to make a top 20. I ended up making a top 25. In my album of the year list, it's going to be my top 15. So I have 10 honorable mentions here. There's a lot of other albums that I could have thrown on here, but I'm only talking about 10 in this video. So, but why don't you get started?
I've got 5.
All right.
So, number 1, I'm going to start with one that I'm leaving out mostly sort of like for a number of technicalities, and that's Epica, Cross Attack on Titan. That album.
Yeah, it's good.
It's an EP, but one reason is it's an EP. So I'm like, there's 4 songs, which, I mean, there's not anything bad against it, but then also, technically it came out last year. But then also, like, technically, it came out in Japan. In December of last year. But, so, I just kind of, and it's good. Crimson Bow and Arrow is a great song, but, I mean, that's really the only song I come back to on that. But, still, just, mostly that's a lot of the reasons. Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah.
Anthem of the Peaceful Army. It's a good... I actually really like this album. It's just, I think because I think you said it really well once. It just doesn't hit as well as their double EP that they put out. Like, there's good songs. Like, I love was it Age of Reason?
Age of Man.
Age of Man. Okay,
Yeah.
I knew it was one of those two. Age of Reason is Black Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
Right. I like that, and I like the all the singles they put out, and You Are the One's a great song. I like that song, but it just doesn't stick. Like everything else, like it has those hits, and then everything else is just kind of. It's their first full-length album. They have room to grow. Whatever. Okay. Similar kind of reasons. 3, Ghost. Good album. That I think some of the songs like Faith and Rats and songs like that are great, but then the rest of the album, again, doesn't stick. So I really like those songs. Those are some of my favorite songs that came out this year that I've listened to, but just the entire album as a whole, it just doesn't click as well.
Yeah.
4, Galactic Empire with Episode 2.
Oh fuck! I forgot that came out.
It did. It's a good album. It's a good album. It's just that, and I think the album does shine because it has the benefit of not having the really well-known Star Wars theme, so you kind of don't just be like, oh yeah, that's a Star Wars thing. It's just great music, but yeah, just I'm just gonna say there's all these all could have been on my list. It's just other albums I find better, and then next would be 5 would be Alien Weaponry with 2. This album's cool. It's like a slower thrash metal album, but especially when the vocals are in English, it's very on the nose, and it's like a little dry at times vocally. I mean, the song Kaiten God is one of my favorite songs, but yeah, and so there's probably a couple albums that I'm missing, but I'm still building what my 10 albums is, and I think I have 11 or 12 albums, and I'm kind of deciding what my top 10 is going to be. So I'm just going to keep it there because those are 5 that I'm like, yeah, these aren't making it, but I have there's probably a couple more, but yeah. As of right now, what might be another close one would be Behemoth. What might be one that barely makes the cut, that would probably be like number 11. Yeah. Because that's a great album. Yeah. It's just that one might also suffer from I didn't listen to it until recently, so it hasn't stuck with me as well as spoiler alert for my top album, Priest, or any of the other, or Necrogalbicon, which is an album that came out that I really liked. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was like my 5 or 6 honorable mentions.
Right. Number 10 for me, I have Kamikaze by Eminem. I love this album, and it's got a lot of really great songs on it, like The Ringer, Fall, Lucky You, Fuck You Too, Woo. It's got a lot of fantastic beats, real to the point lyrics, and Eminem didn't really hold back with a lot of lyrics on this one. It's just fun to listen to, very catchy. Next up, I have Prequel from Ghost. I think a large majority of this album is very enjoyable, but like we've said, it just doesn't reach the heights of Meliora. But I mean, songs like Dance Macabre and Rats and Faith and Witch Image is awesome. I mean, there's a lot of really fantastic tracks on here that I can see really taking Ghost to the next level in a way. It's a smart album for them to put out because they're all over the fucking radio way more than they were with their last album. I turned on the radio today when I got in my car and Dance Macabre is playing. It's like, yeah. I mean, it's an enjoyable album to listen to. I just think its hits are really great, but then some of the deeper cuts are not as exciting to listen to me. Number 8, Greta Van Fleet, Anthem of the Peaceful Army. Like you said, I'm not going to say too much more. It's awesome to listen to, and I mean, tracks like Love or Leave Her, Brave New World is awesome. Age of Man, like, it's got some great hooks on it, just nowhere near I guess their double EP, you want to call it that, because every song on there is just a fucking banger, whereas not as many on here, but they're still an exciting band to listen to. Next up, Unearthed with Extinctions. Unearthed is back to me. I mean, this album just blows your balls off. And it's a great return to form, more of just the hard ass edge that Unearthed has. Tracks like Survivalist and Incinerate are just fucking incredible. One with the Sun is awesome. It's a great way to end the album. Hardline. I mean, there's a lot of really fantastic songs on here, and if you want just some fantastic metalcore riffs and that aggression, those breakdowns, the screaming vocals all up in your grill, it's a great album. Next up, Angelus Apatrida with Cabaret de la Guillotine. This is probably one of the best thrash metal albums of the year for sure, and they delivered a lot of really incredible tracks. I mean, Sharpen the Guillotine is one of my favorite songs of the year, but Farewell, it's just a great like throwback thrash ballad in a way. And what I like about them is these guys have some real good crunch to them, but I feel like they really focus a lot on vocals as well, because damn, there's some really catchy vocal parts on this one. So it's good, and I feel like this is an album that kind of, they're not the biggest band in the world, but I feel like a lot more people have noticed them with this album. So next, who knows? But yeah, it's good. Next up, Coheed and Cambria with the Unheavenly Creatures. I love this album, and this is, I guess, if you're a hardcore Coheed fan, is a return to form for Coheed and Cambria of, a bigger story to the whole album, bigger songs, more of that progressive edge to them. The Color Before the Sun's a good album, but this one, I think Dark Sentencer is one of the best opening tracks of any album that I have ever heard. I mean, just get you pumped the fuck up. I mean, it's killer. But then, Lucky Stars is awesome. Old Flames, The Gutter. I mean, the title track. There's a lot of really great, kind of sing-along moments, some good riffs on it, a lot of beauty to it. It's a good album. Next up, Obscura with Diluvian. Obscura is a great technical death metal band, and they deliver what Obscura does, and that's some tight riffs, crazy ass solos, some tight vocals. I mean, it's technical death metal that I like it because there's a lot more atmosphere to it. It's a little bit more based off of riffs and not just wanking on your guitar and seeing how many notes you can jizz out of your weenus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's tight. I mean, it's an album that I feel like I just need to listen to it a lot more, but every time I do listen to it, I love it, but at the same time, like a Croesus and a Cosmogenesis, some of the earlier albums grabbed me a little bit more. Next up is Necrophobic with Mark of the Necrogram. This band is hard. They're very
hard.
badass. I love the blackened nature to these guys. They're very evil. Songs like Pesta and the title track and Tsar Bomba. Tsar Bomba has one of the best riffs I've heard all year. Crown of Horns. I mean, there's a lot of really incredible stuff on here if you're into that style of metal. And this is an album that it came out, I listened to it, I'm like, cool, and I never listened to it really until just a few months ago, and I'm like, man, this is really good. So if I would have given it more time, it might have made my list because, it's an album that has really grown on me recently, and this is a band I'm going to be paying attention to from here on out. Next up, Primal Fear, Apocalypse. Just narrowly missing my list. Primal Fear, I mean, this is a fucking great Primal Fear album. And with Apocalypse, like, there's a lot of great songs on here. I mean, I love Hounds of Justice, King of Madness, The Beast is just so heavy for Primal Fear.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fantastic moments on here. It's just, it's another Primal Fear album. It's one that I'm going to listen to a lot, but I just think there was a little bit more albums that I enjoyed as a whole this year. But, New Rise is really good as well.
That'd probably be...
Sheepers is great.
Yeah, it'd probably be like... I'll throw that on because that'll probably be like a number 12 on mine.
Really?
It's really close. It's not my top 10.
Wow.
I've got a bunch of other albums.
Wow.
A couple that I hadn't listened to. There's actually specifically 2 that I only listened to recently, and I'm like, well, these have to be on my list. So
yeah. I mean, it's good, and if you're a Primal Fear fan, you probably
you'll like it. Yeah.
And then the last album I have is Behemoth with I Loved You at Your Darkest. I think this album is great. It just is nowhere near the Satanist to me, and I think that might play into it a little bit. And not every song just sticks with me like every song did on the Satanist, or even in Evangelion. I like a little bit more than this one, but man, there's some incredible tracks on here. God Equals Dog, Barzabel is probably the standout song on here. If Crucifixion Was Not Enough, We're the Next 1,000 Years. I mean, there's some great songs on here. They deliver a lot of, that darkened beauty in a way that Behemoth has. And then also the utter chaos that this band can be.
Yeah.
With the blast beats going and Nurgle screaming this, his riffs just crazy. It's like, there's some great moments on here. I like the album for sure. I like 15 other albums a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that's it. Those are my honorable mentions. Yours as well.
Yep.
Our disappointments of the year. Let us know, what isn't making your list, end of the year list. What disappointed you this year, and we'll both have album of the year lists. So go check them out. Thanks for watching.